All right, welcome everybody. This is the Mcdowell Mountain Frenzy race briefing for the 2020 race coming up this Saturday. Just want to go over a few things with all the wave starts and everything. First of all, I emailed everybody yesterday, kind of a preliminary email, just to make sure you got the notice about the start times. We've kind of discussed the wave starts. Those have been assigned, and you can find those on the Frenzy website. So if you go on to the Frenzy website, you will see in a couple different places we linked it. It just says, click this link to your wave starts. And on top of that page, it'll say the distance, go down, find your name, and it'll tell you the wave starts are every 5 minutes, and it'll be up to 15 people. And we kind of based it mostly off of your ultra sign up score. So some of you requested to be together. We did our best to do that. By the time you see this, if you have any more requests, you just have to wait until race day. It's rather difficult to kind of move around as we get closer to the race date. So check with us on the day of the race, stop at the timing tent, and we can see it just becomes more and more difficult as everything gets set because we have those restrictions with the amount of people and getting people out on course together and keeping them separate. Check your email if you haven't seen it. It came through Ultra Sign Up. It's from me. My name is Noah Doherty. I'm the race director, and I'll be there all day Saturday with you, making sure you guys have a great event. So for sure, double check the website. Everything's been updated that you would need to know. So start times, the race has moved up to 6 a.m. So you 50 milers, that means you're probably gonna need a headlamp, or you will need a headlamp in the morning unless you think you can wing it. The trails aren't super rocky, but yeah, just something to think about since sunrise isn't until just about a little after 7. Similarly, with the 25K being moved up, you could start, you're right around civil twilight, so you may need a headlamp there. Just bring one just in case. I'd rather have you have it than not. A couple other quick things. I'm kind of just going through quick points, and then I'll go through some other things kind of specific to the course and stuff. But the other thing was 50K runners. You have one drop bag location this year. That is at Dixie Mine at mile 22 and change. So in the past, there has been Granite Tank. That is not happening this year. So one drop bag for the 50K. 50 Mile still has the 2 drop bags, Granite Tank, which you hit twice, Dixie Mine, which you hit twice, and then you continue on to the finish. You can hit a drop bag there, and you'll head on your last 8-mile loop and finish in the same place. 3 locations, you'll hit them 5 times for the 50 miler, 50K, 1 time at Dixie Mine. Everybody else, no drop bags. We are still doing pacers for the 50 mile, so that's just the last 8 miles. They'll meet you there at the start finish area at mile 42. Head back out. You don't need a bib. Stop at the timing tent. Let us know. We'll make sure you have a wellness check, get you out on course, getting your runner to the finish. Kind of along that same line with the pacers is we updated it as well with kind of everything going on with COVID. We just thought it was best to have no spectators with the permitting. So nobody at the start line except for the participants. It's kind of just the world we're living in right now. We're trying to navigate that as best we can, as safely as we can, and still have people enjoy themselves on trails and racing in Arizona. So we ask you to kind of respect that and respect everybody else's space when you're out there. Just follow the guidelines that have kind of just become normal for everybody with the masks and social distancing and minding their space with the air high fives, and we'll have to hold off on the hugs for a little bit longer. So we know how the community is and how fun it is and welcoming, but just be respectful of that. And let's make sure, like I said, we can keep racing into 2021, because right now we're able to do it, and we got plenty of racing coming up for you, so let's keep up with that. 50K, 50 milers, you got an email specific about the spectators at the end of your race. That still applies, but nobody at the start. All the short distances, we can't have anybody at the finish, start, anything. So you have to cheer each other on and make sure you have fun out there. A couple other things kind of on your arrival. You come into the booth, the ranger booth, you'll pay your entry fee, and then the parking is immediately on the left. Otherwise, parking on the right is the overflow, and you'll just walk across. It's pretty close to the start finish. Right before your race, kind of how it'll go down is, say like 5 or 6 minutes before your race time, you'll walk up to our active participant zone, as we call it. We'll have somebody doing temperature checks. You get your temperature checked, you have your mask on, you walk into this zone. It's kind of like a waiting corral, and then you go into the starting corral. So once you're in that area, you're clear. We'll have dots or lines on the bottom in the starting corral, so you know where to stay, kind of like direct the social distancing, if you will. It's usually about 2 wide, 6 feet apart, all the way back to the 15 people. And you guys can stand wherever. We just don't want clumping up, and just be mindful of that. So then you race. And then when you get to aid stations, we ask you mask up. Same thing. If you're around other people, mask up. You do not have to run with a mask. Some people have asked that. You do not have to run with a mask. But anytime you're around people, just basic public courtesy as we have kind of grown to do with the mask. The biggest thing really was I just want to make sure everybody's aware of the times and aware of the wave starts, and you can come in about 5 minutes before your wave. We'll go over a couple quick items and then you go out and race. And then once you're out on course, everything's, relatively normal, and we'll have your standard aid station fare. So nothing's kind of compromised there. Stuff might be more pre-packaged, where it'll be, say, Chex Mix in a little self-serving bag, and stuff won't be kind of grab and go. A little more grab and go, a little less contact points. That's kind of the point. So same thing with your packet pickup, either Thursday night at our warehouse office or Friday. You can check anytime during the day. We're right by the airport if you happen to be flying in or traveling in this area. It's all just one kind of thing. We have everything bagged up, your pins, your bib, your shirt. It's all in there. We'll just hand it over to you and you go. So it's pretty easy and fast. But yeah, aid station food will all be, standard. We do Gatorade for our electrolyte drinks, sweet, salty snacks. Some of the later aid stations, for example, like Dixie Mine, will have some sort of sandwiches as a little more substantial food, because that's around 28 miles, 33 miles for the 50 milers. And then Gate Aid later in the day will have some sort of warmer option for those runners as they head into the dark. Speaking of the dark, I mentioned like 50 milers and 25Ks, you may need a headlamp to start. 50 milers will. And then at night, keep an eye on that as well. So 50 milers that are running into the dark, I think it's like 5:45. I have it on the website under the race day information. But the 50K, if you think you're going to be more than 10 hours on your 50K, so if you start as late as 8:45, then you're going to want a headlamp so you don't finish in the dark. 5:20 sunset, civil twilight's about 5:47. So 5:45, it's dark out. So about 5:30, you're going to need a light. We don't want you to have a miserable ending to your ultra experience. So keep an eye on that. Timing wise, we'll have some remote timing set up. Some places we don't get great service, but we do it for points after. We can look back at it and review that information, but it's live.araviparunning.com, and your friends can kind of keep an eye on you online there as best as we are able to transmit that info. Couple quick points for the 50 milers. You have 2 aid stations, as I mentioned, where your drop bags. The Granite Tank aid station, which is at mile 11 and a half or so, 11.6. Once you hit that Granite Tank, you climb over a fence into the Sonoran Preserve, the Mcdowell Sonoran Preserve, which is some fantastic trails. You do a gooseneck loop of 6.5 miles, and you have to come back to Granite Tank. You can't skip that and continue on. First of all, that would be a super long section without aid. Second of all, it's part of the course. You have to go back to Granite Tank a second time, which is just under 19 miles. And then you head out to Dixie Mine through the Sonoran Preserve. And this is my favorite section of the course personally, but it's like 10.5 miles, kind of winding single track. You go through some big boulders and you're looking at the Thompson Peak and the Mcdowell Sonoran Preserve, which is where all the mountains are and stuff. So it's a really fun section, and you finish with a climb up Bell Pass and then descend into Dixie Mine. So once you hit Granite Tank twice, you head over to Dixie Mine on the longest section, 10.5 miles. This is a section we always mention people show up with no water, tired. So just keep an eye on that before you leave Granite Tank. You're ready to go and you're prepared for a longer section. Tends to get hot, even though the temperature isn't going to look hot. You're just exposed in the desert, and sometimes it just kind of piles on. So just keep an eye on that, and we want you to get to Dixie Mine feeling good so you can finish your race in good shape. Dixie Mine's the same thing. When you come out to Dixie Mine, you have to run down the hill. You'll hit the Dixie Mine aid station and then go straight back up the hill to the top of Thompson Peak, though it's mandatory as well. So you have to go down, hit Dixie Mine, all the way to the top of Thompson Peak, where there'll be 2 timing ladies, Claire and Faith. They'll take care of you. Head right back down, hit Dixie Mine, on your way to the finish. So Dixie Mine twice, Granite Tank twice. As far as signage and stuff, we kind of do the same thing every race. So this is important for all distances. We use these orange and black polka dot ribbons. This is the correct way ribbon. So we use these in all of our races. So if you've ever raced with Aravaipa, this is it, orange and black polka dot. Since there's nighttime running, this is what we'll have. So this is a reflective medallion. It shines really bright on your headlamp. This is super helpful to have. So look for these on course. There could be pin flags as well, which stick into the ground. And they say Aravaipa running on them. They're orange and black also, and they have reflective medallions too. So orange and black polka dot is the correct way. There's signage at all critical junctions. This is very, very important to everybody, and somebody just make sure you pay attention. At each junction that we deem critical, you will have signs that look like these. So it'll say your distance, 10 mile, 25K, 50 mile. Your bibs will be these colors. So you will have a green bib for 10 mile, yellow bib for 25, white for 50. There's a blue one for 5 miles. So you're only looking at your sign. Make sure that, I can't reiterate that enough, there's plenty of times when people just follow other runners in front of them through a junction, never look at the signs because you assume they're right. Unfortunately, people aren't always right. Follow the signs are right. Okay, so those are your signs. These signs also have reflective strips on them as well for the nighttime. So more early morning, late at night. There's your 50K, 50 mile. And make sure you're following your signs, which is also why it's important to know your course in the beginning before you head out there. Other items, wrong way ribbons. These are the blue and white checker. Wrong way, check yourself if you will. Turn around, find these orange and black polka dot ribbons and get back on course. These ribbons are going to be, we don't put ribbons any more than about 0.2 miles apart. It's usually less than that. So they're pretty frequent. So if you go more than a quarter mile without seeing a ribbon, you need to kind of double check and think about where you're heading, get back on course. Camping, if people are thinking about camping on site, you pay at the ranger booth at the entrance. It's $22 a night. That includes the entry fee to get into the park, which is $7, and that's $22 a night. So you can stay Friday night, you can stay Saturday night, either, both, whatever. You just pay them and let them know. If you arrive after hours, which is 8 p.m. for them, you'll just have to come to our store registration for Aravaipa, and you can pay us there, and then we reimburse the park. A couple other things with I mentioned the masks and social distancing and minimizing contact points. If we don't have to touch stuff, don't touch stuff. We'll have hand sanitizer everywhere. There's a washing station at the portable restrooms. There's a permanent bathroom here as well. The permanent bathroom has showers if people needed a shower before they flew out or traveled. There's some in the competitive track. There's some in the Four Peaks staging area. So there's a couple options with those, which is awesome benefit of having this park. Our volunteers will be doing a similar thing. So when you come to an aid station, it might not have this like sprawling spread like we've had in the past where it's, all your sweet and salties and then sandwiches and fruit and everything cut up and ready to just grab. But ask, okay? We usually have everything. Patty's there, as she does. Patty Curry kind of dominates our aid stations. So take a time and ask if somebody has something. If we have it, we'll get it out for you, and it just takes a minute or two total to grab it. So ask before you just assume we don't have it. We just don't want to have everything out and exposed to, hundreds of runners at different aid stations. So ask if you don't see something. Volunteers are happy to help. The volunteers can pour. We'll have pitchers of water and pitchers of electrolyte drink that we can pour into your bottles and stuff. We won't grab your backpack and fill your bladder for you. We won't grab your flask water bottle and do that anymore. So you hold it, we'll pour it, you cap it, stuff like that. So there's no contact points at all, but we're still able to help you and get you out there as soon as possible. Similarly, if you get there and there's a bunch of people at the aid station, just be courteous of space. It won't matter that much in time. The grand scheme of things, it'll be an extra, 30 seconds maybe. So just be courteous of that and just keep that in mind. Some people are more comfortable with the COVID situation. Some people are not, but they're happy to race. So let's just be courteous of all of that. Within the comp track for those shorter distances, there are a lot of turns and curves and ins and outs, lefts and rights. So just make sure, again, you're following the signs. Follow those signs. We will make sure they're marked. Just do your best to be as familiar as you can. And then when you get out there, that you're only following the signs that you need to follow. So I think that's kind of wraps it up. I don't want to go on forever so that you guys actually watch. If you have other questions, there's a ton of information on the website. There's GPS tracks and stuff like that. But when it all comes down to it, we want everybody to have a good time, enjoyable, and, trail running is never really easy, so we want to make sure you guys are set up with as best of a platform to succeed as you can, which we'll do with the aid station and course marking and all this preparatory stuff. Know that you can do it. You guys can all make it, however far you're going to go, and you're going to be tired and you're going to want to quit at some point, but you got it. So you train for this, you're ready, so get out there and finish that race. One other thing I will say is cutoffs. We don't have a ton of cutoffs on this race just because of the nature of the course. 50K is one giant loop, so we don't see you again till you finish. But because of the 50 mile, that allows longer cutoffs for people. So the only cutoff that we have is at Dixie Mine. Everybody needs to be through there by 5:30. I will say that 5:30 cutoff, you don't necessarily want to be chasing that if you don't have to be. So if you can be well ahead of that, you'll be better off, because there are a fair amount of miles still. So 5:30 p.m. leaving Dixie Mine is when you need to be, and that's adjusted for the final wave of the 50 miles. So the 6:25 starters, that's your 15-hour cutoff. So that's on pace for the 15 hours. And then the race ends at 9:30. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, inside the comp track, the 25K, 10 mile, 5 mile, you kind of have all day to get it done. So, which is kind of a great thing for people to not have to worry about time and fighting a clock. But yeah, one other thing I want to mention, these are the 50-mile finisher awards. Pretty awesome. They're house made here by Aravaipa Artworks. Super cool. This is the Thompson Peak Tower. Something we're doing this year is a new pilot system. So this was the award actually last year. It's kind of different colors, you can see, but there will be some out there if you like these. So this is what the 50 miler will look like. What we're doing this year, we're going to have Louis out there, who kind of heads up our artworks department. He's got some new really fun personalizing ideas. So he's going to come out to the park and try to do this in person. So I don't know if you can see, but right below this one, it says John Marashek and his finish time. So I think like 10 or 15 bucks, and he'll do it right on site for you. So you'll get this award when you finish your 50 mile. And then once we get your finished time, you can bring it over to him. He'll be at the store registration area, and he can do this right on the spot for you. If he had issues or something, we could figure out a way we would ship it or something. It's super easy, but super cool, exciting award. We have the finisher pint glasses, the custom Frenzy awards for everybody else, and we'll do our best to do podiums and everything while we can out there. Thank you, everybody. We will see you this weekend. Again, if you can, check the website first for information and details. And if you don't see it there, feel free to reach out, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. And otherwise, we will see you out there. Thank you very much.